It is 2025 and Classic has come a long way since its original re-release in 2019. Back then it was trying to just be the game from how it was in 2004, but nowadays we have several different options. Today I want to do a bit of a recap of the state of the game heading into the new year, so you can get an idea of what's going on in the world of Warcraft, and ultimately you can decide if any of these sound like a good time for you to jump in the game. For each version of Classic I'll be talking about what phase they're on or what stage they're at roughly, are there any changes which are different to the original experience, how popular they are, who this version of WoW is for at the moment, and what will or is expected to happen next. We're going to start with the most up-to-date iteration of Classic, which is Cataclysm, a generally less well-favoured expansion, but one that's definitely held on to an active raiding population for the endgame content, which I would say is what most people are playing Cataclysm for. For Cataclysm, it's now on its second major raid tier, the Firelands, which has been out for about 2 months or so. This has allowed people to once again earn their legendary staff Dragonwrath Taragosa's Rest and experience renowned fights such as Ragnaros Heroic. It's also on the shorter side for a raid 2 with only 7 bosses total, and really the challenges in this tier are just from Balrog and of course Ragnaros himself. From a roadmap that Blizzard shared in 2024, we had a good idea that Blizzard wanted to speed up Cata compared to its original release, and we definitely don't want to have a same duration Dragon Soul as what we had the first time around, but more recently we heard that they plan to extend the Firelands raid beyond January. Saying that, I feel as though once we're getting into February this year, the PTR for Dragon Soul will be popping up shortly, and that is of course the final raid tier of Cataclysm, at which point I expect to see a lot of people suddenly reroll Rogue for those legendary daggers. Cata really hasn't had that many changes compared to the experience that it offered the first time around, aside from the content schedule being faster. There is a new dungeon difficulty called Protocol Infernal where you can do heroics that have extra health and damage, and they award a currency that can be traded in for raid gear from the previous tier. Also, there is currently no LFR in this expansion because the feature was only introduced during Dragon Soul, which of course we don't have yet. Who knows whether they'll end up putting it back in the game though at this point in time. Population wise, there's definitely not as many players as previous versions of the game, as was very expected to be honest, but it seems to me as though there's a solid number of players focusing on the endgame content, specifically raiding. By the numbers from sites such as Ironforge.pro, which tracks every individual character who has raided in any given reset, Cata has the most players taking part in endgame raiding content across any version of Classic. Now it is worth noting that Anniversary Realms very well may pass this number, but it's probably a bit too early to tell, but we'll talk more about that soon. Either way, as we are at the moment, Cata has been out for a while, which means the hype phase has very much come and gone, but it's still keeping a good number of people raiding. The reasons that raiding is popular in Cata are, in my opinion at least, first of all, it's a decent difficulty level for somebody who wants something in between the target dummies in vanilla and several months of progression from Mythic on retail. Second is that this is the first time that this content is re-releasing. People just want to see it again or re-experience it again. And third, you can still do GDKPs on Cata. These are raids where you bid for items with in-game gold as opposed to any rolling system, loot council or so on. GDKPs have been banned on both Anniversary Realms and Season of Discovery Realms, as again we'll talk about later. Unlike the old days where GDKP was about boosting some newer player or funneling them some loot, now it's much more just an alt raiding environment for established guilds where the same people don't want to deal with setting up a second roster, dealing with loot council, assigns and all that. This loot system existing massively boosts the number of raids which are being run and will make the game look way more popular on sites like Ironforge.pro, but either way it means that more raids are being run. It's also pretty fast to get back into Cataclysm with the Infernal dungeons and much of Firelands now being on farm. It really is just possibly Balrog and Ragnaros at the moment which are the challenges. Of course, Dragon Soul is looming not too far off in the distance, and it's possibly one of the raids with the worst reputations ever in World of Warcraft. To be fair, it's probably not as bad as people were making out and it's been exaggerated, but we're gonna find out pretty soon. Overall, Cataclysm's a solid expansion for a raiding focused player where you want something between the difficulty levels of vanilla and retail. It's also good for a person who cannot commit to a guild schedule but can play in more flexible GDKPs. Blizzard have already confirmed that Mr. Pandaria will be following on from Cataclysm, and from their roadmap, the beta is likely to be mid to late spring, with a summer pre-patch into an autumn launch launch for this expansion. So you still have a while to wait for Pandaria to be real again, but you should know that it will be, and I'll be making content on that closer to its release date. So that's Cataclysm. Now let's go back to Vanilla, which is where basically all the rest of the WoW content is, but again, there are several versions of it. First, let's talk Anniversary Realms, Vanilla's latest edition. These were released to celebrate World of Warcraft's 20th anniversary as an MMORPG, as well as 5 years of Classic, and have been available now since late November 2024. These Anniversary Realms are going to have a bit of a faster content cadence as well, and Phase 2 will be added on January 9th, introducing Diamol as well as the Honor system into the game. The first wave of Battlegrounds, that'll be Warsong Gulch and Alterac Valley, will be added in 1 week later on the 16th of January. So Blizzard are actually recreating Phase 2 of Classic for a week. Well, if you're on a PvP server, I sure hope you aren't somewhere between levels 48 to 60 during that week, because otherwise you're going to be on first name terms with a spirit healer. The reason why is you'll award honor points to people who want to rank, and without Battlegrounds, this is kind of the only way to do it. At least you'll get to relive South Shore versus Terran Mill for a bit, probably at least. Saying that, it shouldn't be anywhere near as bad as the original Phase 2 in Classic, if you indeed remember that, because Anniversary Realms do have some notable changes. For PvP ranks, for instance, Decay is now gone, and you only need a set number of honor per week in order to progress your rank, so gone are the days of needing to farm non-stop. Anniversary Realms also have a group finder tool which will help you put together, well, your groups. This isn't a version of it that automatically groups you up with people, and it doesn't teleport you to dungeons either. It's like the group finder where you sign up for Mythic Plus on retail. This makes it so you don't have to install add-ons or just spam the chat to find a group, so I think this is a good thing. There are also very few Anniversary Realms, but they support far more players than Realms would, typically thanks to advancements that Blizzard have made. So there's no more risk of a dead realm and needing to transfer, and wherever you play, as good of a population as there's going to be will be there. Anniversary Realms also have dual specialization, which can be bought at level 40 for 50 gold. It works in the same way that dual spec always has in WoW, where you can swap anywhere out of combat, and it'll change you over to a new bar setup and your new talents. This has been very well received, and I can see this being a part of every Classic release moving forwards. Anniversary Realms also came with new, fresh, hardcore realms as well, so people can experience this extra challenge if they wish to. You can do it on a regular one life character or be a self-found hero who has one life but they cannot trade, use the auction house or mailboxes. In terms of population for the Anniversary Realms, we're gonna see the number of raiders grow week on week from here on out, at least until the start of BWL, I would say. The reason being is leveling just takes ages in Vanilla. There's no XP boost here. Raiding didn't peak on Classic originally till Blackwing Lair came out, which was months after launch, because so many people were ready to raid by then finally, and I expect the same to happen here. Leveling content is absolutely booming on Anniversary Realms with tons of people in all zones, and there's still plenty of fresh left in these fresh servers for the leveling enjoyers once again. Just know that it's going to take you a while to get there. It's about the journey after all. Anniversary Realms are ideal for somebody who missed out on the 2019 experience due to real life circumstances or whatever it may have been, or just want that hustle and bustle of the new server experience. You pretty much can't go wrong with a fresh, and it's nearly always a good time. And there have been updates to the LFG tool and dual spec which also have been well received and add to the experience. And if you enjoy it, of course, endgame is waiting for you once you hit 60. Or you could just prep a character to at least level 58 for the Burning Crusade, because we also know what's happening next for these Anniversary Realms too, as it was confirmed that they will progress on to TBC. From the roadmap we have, this is expected to be sometime around winter or spring next year, putting Anniversary Vanilla around a 1-year duration, but of course this is subject to change. We don't know what will happen to characters currently on Vanilla Anniversary servers when this happens, however, possibly you'll transfer to Classic era, not sure. Also, I am heavily speculating that after TBC has been out for a year that we will then progress onwards to Wrath once again, and I think they'll announce this at BlizzCon or Warcraft Direct 2025. This isn't confirmed, of course, course, but we'll see what happens here. Next up, a quick mention to Classic Era. These are a cluster of servers that were originally made when vanilla progressed to TBC with minimal changes, and they're aimed at the people who just want that basic vanilla experience. At first, these realms were a complete ghost town, but they gradually started to gain momentum throughout Wrath of the Lich King Classic as people started to miss that vanilla flavor. The Anniversary realms have taken a decent chunk of the population, however, as the draw of a fresh realm is very powerful in World of Warcraft, but Era definitely has its dedicated player base, and with more or less no changes for several years in a row now, it's here to stay. Leveling content is obviously way less popular than the Anniversary realms, but more guilds are at different progression levels during the endgame, as of course all the content is out and available and has been for a long time. Also, you'll know in advance that you won't have to progress onto TBC if you don't want to do that. Era is really for the vanilla purists though. No future content should be expected for Era, it's fully released vanilla and that is that. Last but not least, we have Season of Discovery, Blizzard's second seasonal server for World of Warcraft. Season of Discovery is approaching its endgame phase of vanilla, with Naxxramas currently on the PTR and all earlier content is available. The idea behind Season of Discovery is to add to and rebalance the classes of vanilla via a rune engraving system, where you can put new abilities on your gear as if they were enchants. This has led to totally new ways to play classes and class balance, which is massively different from vanilla in the extreme. You can actually play stuff like Moonkin or Shadow Priest and they do good damage. Crazy, I know. There are also tons of new items, item rebalancing, quest lines and more to create a whole new vanilla experience. In terms of changes on these realms, there's really too many to mention, and it's best if you just give it a go if vanilla with significant class changes sounds intriguing. One thing that I will say is that there's a massive XP buff when you're leveling, so you'll get to 60 fast for the endgame content, and it is more focused on endgame than vanilla typically is. Also, all runes will be available from level 1 for 1 copper each, so if you're avoiding Season of Discovery because you didn't want to have to grind out all the runes on various alts, you don't have to worry about that anymore, you just go and buy them. Season of Discovery realms got off to an amazing start, but gradually began to fall off after a generally disliked third phase and have struggled to regain momentum. All runes for pretty much free now has definitely put some life back into the leveling scene, but it really is all about zooming to endgame on an overpowered character and seeing how different classes feel to play with all of the changes. At this point, there is a dedicated raiding scene for Season of Discovery for those who have stuck with it. However, GDKPs are banned as mentioned earlier, so if you want to play, having time for a guild would be a good idea because the pug scene in World of Warcraft is always very hit and miss. Blizzard have also teased brand new content at the endgame in Season of Discovery after Naxxramas. From data mining, this appears to be a Scarlet Crusade themed raid over in Tyr's Hand in the Eastern Plaguelands and a Karazhan Crypts dungeon in Deadwind Pass, so pretty exciting stuff. Blizzard have also mentioned that they want to keep Season of Discovery characters around after all the content has been completed. Still not exactly sure what they're going to be doing here. Season of Discovery Era realms perhaps? I wish they'd just tell us at this point what the plan is. It's been over a year since these realms are out now and we still don't know 100%. If they were more clear with what the long-term plan is, I think more people would have been willing to get invested, but here we are. After Season of Discovery, assuming it's ending that is, which, I mean, it's called a season, so it's probably going to be ending, but that's going to be the big question though, really. I think Blizzard are setting up for something more permanent for Classic than it just being re-releases, and that Season of Mastery and Discovery have given them a lot of ideas on what works and, more importantly, what doesn't. BlizzCon or Warcraft Direct, whichever we're getting in 2025 during autumn this year, should be an interesting one for Classic and will hopefully give us a lot more insight on the future. But until then, those are all of your options at the moment when it comes to Classic World of Warcraft. So I hope I've given you some ideas about different versions of the game, what they currently offer, and what to watch out for in the future. Let me know your thoughts on the different versions of Classic, which ones you're playing at the moment, and what you want to see in the future in the comments down below. And, as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you on the next one very soon.